wrong with y'all? You niggas are crazy.
Angels don't prepare. We say, oh God, 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 oh God.
Church is supposed to be a sanctuary, a holy haven for peace, prayer, and quiet reflection. But somebody forgot to tell these congregations that. From stabbings to shootings, staged miracles to full-blown meltdowns, these cameras caught chaos nobody saw coming. So grab a seat, because this is 15 of the wildest, most unbelievable church moments ever caught on tape. Number 6 might just be the pettiest one on this entire list. 15. The pastor wasn't impressed. Let's kick things off with something that feels almost tame compared to what's coming, but trust me, it still went viral for all the wrong reasons. During a 2025 Day of Giving service at Perfecting Church in Detroit, Pastor Marvin Winans appeared to criticize a woman after she donated $1,235. According to reports, Winans had actually requested closer to $2,000 from attendees that day, which is why her amount reportedly didn't sit well with him on the mic. The clip spread fast, sparking a wave of criticism online about the pressure some church members feel to keep giving more and more, no matter how much they've already handed over. It's worth noting the woman later disputed some of the interpretations that circulated about the moment, so not everyone agrees on exactly what was intended. Still, the optics alone were enough to reignite a much bigger conversation about money and megachurches that's been simmering for years. And that's really what made this particular clip so uncomfortable. The issue wasn't simply the amount of money involved, but the public nature of the exchange. When financial expectations become part of a service, the line between encouragement and pressure can become very blurry, especially when thousands of people are watching. But if you think that was uncomfortable, wait until you see what one pastor allegedly did to keep an entire congregation from leaving their seats. 14. The church that wouldn't let people leave. If you thought church collections were getting aggressive, Marvin Sapp took passing the plate and turned it into an actual hostage situation. A viral clip resurfaced showing the gospel icon casually ordering ushers to lock the exit doors until the congregation coughed up a grand total of $40,000. That's right, pay your $20 cover charge or you're spending the night in the sanctuary. Forget please give what you can. This was giving please give what you can before you can leave. According to reports, around 1,000 people were either in the room or watching online, and the fundraising goal worked out to roughly $20 per person. Sapp later tried to clear his name, claiming nobody was actually being held against their will, and that the closed doors were simply standard protocol. But once that footage hit social media, the internet had already entered detective mode. Critics weren't buying the explanation, with plenty of viewers describing the situation as a high-pressure fundraising tactic disguised as Sunday worship. And honestly, the optics were doing absolutely no favors. Nothing says godly fellowship quite like looking toward the exit and realizing your freedom apparently has a suggested donation attached to it. At that point, the collection plate wasn't just being passed around. It was practically holding the congregation for ransom. So if closing the doors on a congregation feels intense, what happens when a pastor spits on someone in front of everyone? 13. Saliva into anointing oil. In 2022, Pastor Michael Todd decided to take biblical reenactments to a truly unhinged level. While preaching about Jesus healing a blind man, he had a grand epiphany. Why just tell the story when you can deliver a live-action, high-velocity loogie? Right on stage, Pastor Todd hawked up his own personal saliva, rubbed it all over his palms, and smashed it directly onto a very patient volunteer's face. Naturally, the internet gagged in unison, and the clip went viral faster than a flu outbreak. Todd eventually offered a full apology after realizing that rubbing spit on another human being's eyes isn't the crowd-pleasing sermon illustration he thought it was. It remains one of the most stomach-churning "did he really just do that?" moments in internet history. But as disgusting as a surprise spit facial is, Putting hands on someone to throw them off the stage takes the madness to an entirely new level. 12. Bishop to bouncer. During a 2022 sermon, a woman started strolling toward the stage, prompting the Gucci-clad bishop to immediately drop the mic and activate executive protection mode. Before anyone could process what was happening, Whitehead physically grabbed her and yanked her right off camera. His official defense? He claimed he sensed clear and present danger, insisting he was just shielding his wife and daughter from an imminent threat. The woman, however, told a completely different story, basically claiming she was just minding her business before getting unceremoniously tackled out of the aisle like an uninvited stage crasher. Police eventually arrived and slapped her with trespassing and service disruption charges, leaving Whitehead legally untouched, though his reputation definitely took another direct hit. Given that the flashy pastor was already practically a living meme magnet for bizarre headlines, this viral smackdown lit the internet on absolute fire. Watching a bishop double as a nightclub bouncer mid-sermon is wild enough on its own. But speaking of viral church moments that spiraled into complete mass confusion, wait until you hear about the coffin video everyone got dead wrong. 11. The viral resurrection video. If you've spent any time on the weird side of YouTube, you've probably seen the outrage bait claim that a female pastor played dead until her congregation donated enough money to resurrect her. Fantastic story. Totally fake. The actual footage comes from South Africa back in 2019, starring celebrity pastor Alf Lukau and a man who miraculously woke up inside a casket mid-service. That's right, a full-blown Hollywood-style resurrection, complete with a guy sitting up in a pristine black suit looking like he just took a very inconvenient nap. Naturally, actual funeral directors weren't amused, suing the ministry for damaging their reputation, while South African authorities slammed the entire stunt as a staged, fraudulent hoax. The backlash was nuclear, sparking nationwide debates about performance art theology and the wild lengths some preachers will go to for a viral miracle. What makes this clip legendary isn't just the sheer absurdity of a casket jump scare in the sanctuary, it's how the internet mutated it over time. After enough reposts and fake captions, a fraudulent resurrection turned into an imaginary extortion scheme. It's a hilarious reminder that half of viral internet drama is totally manufactured, and the other half is just bad context. But as wild as fake resurrections are, nothing prepares you for what happens when a pastor literally collapses during his final sermon. 10. Bishop dies after preaching. Unlike the outrageous scandals and staged theatrics on this list, this entry takes a genuinely heartbreaking and sobering turn. In 2012, Bishop Barnett K. Thorogood stood at the pulpit of New Jerusalem Church of God in Christ in Virginia Beach, pouring his heart into a powerful Sunday sermon. Minutes later, the entire sanctuary was thrown into shock. While accounts vary on whether he collapsed mid-sentence or quietly took a seat right after finishing his message, the devastating reality was the same. The beloved bishop suffered a fatal cardiac event right in front of his congregation. Medical reports later confirmed his death was caused by cardiovascular disease. To go from delivering a passionate sermon to suddenly passing away in front of hundreds of devoted followers left the room frozen in disbelief. For those present, what was supposed to be a routine worship service instantly turned into a profound, unforgettable tragedy. It served as a stark, chilling reminder of just how fragile life can be, even in the middle of a holy sanctuary. And heartbreakingly, he wasn't the only major preacher whose heart would suddenly fail right at the center of the altar. 9. T.D. Jakes suffers a heart attack. In November of 2024, during a sermon at the Potter's House in Dallas, T.D. Jakes appeared to lose control of his body mid-message and had to be helped off the stage. Cameras caught the entire unsettling moment, and it spread across the internet within hours as fans worried about one of the most recognizable preachers in the country. Jakes later confirmed that he had suffered a massive heart attack, which was followed by time in the ICU and emergency surgery to stabilize him. It was a sobering reminder that even the biggest names behind the pulpit aren't immune to sudden medical emergencies, no matter how many decades of experience they have on that stage or how many congregants are counting on them week to week. Thankfully, Jakes pulled through and has since spoken publicly about the experience, using it as a moment to talk openly about health, mortality, and slowing down. Now, let's slow things down for a literal falling object nobody expected. 8. Each one will carry his own cross, literally. Talk about divine intervention going completely off script. During a high-energy worship set, a heavy wooden cross detached from the wall and plummeted straight into the drum cage, taking out the drummer mid-beat. In a moment of pure, unintentional comedy, the rest of the praise band didn't even notice. They just kept jamming away at full volume, completely oblivious to the fact that their drummer was back there fighting for his life against a falling symbol of salvation. It wasn't until the final chord faded that anyone realized the beat had been brutally interrupted by literal structural failure. Fortunately, reports confirmed the drummer survived the holy headbutt mostly unharmed, but the internet immediately immortalized the clip. After all, it's not every day you see a rock-solid performance derailed because God's house quite literally tried to bring the house down. But while a falling cross is a shock, one Houston church had an entirely different and much heavier crash to deal with. 7. Car crashes through a Houston church. If you thought a sudden structural failure was wild, try having an entire automobile join your Sunday service. Back in 2020, a driver in Houston decided to skip the parking lot altogether and crashed a whole car straight through the walls of New Mount Calvary Missionary Baptist Church, parking it dead center in the middle of the sanctuary. But the grand entrance wasn't even the weirdest part. Instead of getting out to check for damage, the driver climbed onto the roof of the vehicle and immediately began swinging from and pulling down the church's indoor chandelier, like a low-budget action movie stunt. By some absolute miracle, the building was empty and nobody was hurt. Viewers online were left completely floored by the sheer absurdity of the footage, trying to comprehend how a routine drive ended with a motor vehicle parked in the pews and an impromptu chandelier demolition session. It gives driving to church a whole new, terrifying meaning. But while a vehicle crashing through the sanctuary is a massive surprise, some churches have had to deal with unexpected visitors that were far more venomous. 6. Snake handling, pastor bitten. If you thought a sudden car crash in the sanctuary was wild, this next moment takes living on a prayer to a terrifyingly literal, high-stakes level. Welcome to a Pentecostal church in Kentucky, where Pastor Cody Coots was holding a live service while casually waving a venomous rattlesnake around the altar. To the surprise of absolutely no one, except perhaps the congregation, the snake turned around and clamped its fangs right onto his ear and neck. If that name sounds familiar, it's because his father, Jamie Coots, died back in 2014 after being bitten during a similar service. As blood started soaking through his shirt on camera, it is reported that Cody initially tried to stick to family tradition and pray the venom away rather than rush to an ER. He eventually survived the ordeal, but the footage of him staggering across the stage while holding a live rattler is pure nightmare-fuel television. It's a jaw-dropping reminder that when your Sunday ritual involves deadly reptiles, faith and fangs don't always mix cleanly. And if you think a venomous snake bite mid-sermon is intense, wait until you see the full-blown brawl that erupted right in the middle of a Tennessee altar call. 5. Fight at Olivet Baptist Church. In December of 2021, a man later identified in reports as Marcus Williams entered Olivet Baptist Church in Chattanooga and struck assistant or youth Pastor Chris Sands right in the middle of the service. Chaos understandably broke out as members scrambled to intervene and calm the situation down before things escalated further. The pastor later suggested the attack may have been connected to relapse or ongoing mental health struggles, though that explanation was never officially documented or confirmed. So it's worth treating it as speculation rather than fact. Moments like this show just how quickly a peaceful gathering can turn tense and how unprepared most congregations are for sudden violence breaking out during a service. The video circulated widely, with viewers debating both the safety of open church services and how much compassion should be extended to someone clearly struggling. But that wasn't the only violent disruption caught on camera during a live service. 4. Church fire in Ghana. A separate CCTV clip from 2026 shows a woman pouring petrol on chairs near the altar inside an Alpha Hour Church auditorium in Ghana. Unlike some of the more dramatic claims that have circulated online, this fire was actually contained quickly, and reports describe the resulting damage as limited, with no injuries reported to anyone inside the building. It's worth being clear about that, because a different, unrelated claim about a fire destroying an entire church building elsewhere in Ghana has gotten mixed in with this footage online, and the two stories shouldn't be treated as the same incident. Arson at a place of worship carries a different kind of weight, regardless of the scale, striking at something a community considers sacred. As investigations continued, questions swirled about what could have possibly motivated such a drastic act inside a church auditorium, especially given how calmly the woman reportedly moved through the space before starting the fire. Unfortunately, fire wasn't the only kind of devastating attack a congregation has had to endure. 3. Armed attack in Kwara State, Nigeria. In November of 2025, gunmen reportedly stormed Christ Apostolic Church at Oke Isagan in Eruku, Kwara State, during an evening service, and the aftermath was devastating. Reports consistently say that 38 worshippers were abducted, though the death toll varies depending on the source, with some reports citing 2 worshippers killed and others putting the number at 3. Attacks like this have unfortunately become a recurring nightmare in parts of Nigeria, where places of worship have increasingly become targets for armed groups. The fear and panic captured in the footage paint a horrifying picture of what should have been a routine evening service turning into a tragedy in a matter of minutes. It's a sobering reminder that for many congregations around the world, simply showing up to pray carries very real risk that most of us never have to think twice about. And it's part of why these communities have started pushing for stronger security around religious gatherings. And speaking of gunmen inside a church, one Pennsylvania pastor came face to face with an attacker who pulled the trigger. 2. Attempted shooting of Pastor Glenn, Germany. In May of 2024, a man later identified in reports as Bernard Polite allegedly pointed a firearm directly at Pastor Glenn, Germany, during a Pennsylvania sermon and pulled the trigger. By what can only be described as sheer luck, the weapon malfunctioned instead of firing. Before the attacker could try again, a church member and deacon named Clarence McAllister stepped in and helped tackle or restrain him, likely saving the pastor's life in the process. According to reports, nobody inside the church was injured during the ordeal. The entire terrifying sequence was caught on camera, and it quickly became one of the most talked about near misses in recent church history. That deacon's split-second decision changed everything for everyone in that room. But even that harrowing moment doesn't compare to what happened during a live-streamed service in Australia. 1. Knife attack in Australia. And finally, the most shocking entry on this entire list. On April 15, 2024, during a live-streamed service at Christ the Good Shepherd Church in Wakeley, Sydney, a 16-year-old allegedly attacked Bishop Mari Emmanuel with a knife in front of a horrified congregation watching both in person and online. Footage and reports confirm the bishop was stabbed, and a priest who tried to intervene was also injured in the attack. Australian police classified the incident as a terrorist attack, though the legal case against the teenager was still working its way through the courts. In the days that followed, unrest broke out outside the church as an angry crowd clashed with police, and several more arrests connected to the attacker followed in the weeks after, as investigators worked to understand exactly what motivated the attack in the first place. It remains one of the most disturbing acts of violence ever captured live inside a place of worship, and footage of the attack is still being discussed and dissected online to this day, years after it first happened. And there you have it, 15 church moments nobody could have predicted. From petty money drama to full-blown tragedy, plus a few viral claims that turned out to be a lot messier than the captions let on once you actually dig into the reporting. It's a reminder that even in places built around faith and community, cameras have a way of catching the moments people would rather forget. If this list left you shocked, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next deep dive. And drop a comment letting us know which one caught you the most off guard. See you in the next one.